Hello, Michael. How are you doing today?
I am awesome, Martin. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great as well. Thank you very much. Super happy to start a new week and a new week of AGTP Live. That's going to be a great week.
Yep. Hello, everybody, and welcome to AGTP Daily. We go live every weekday, don't we, Martin, at 11 a.m. Eastern Time
Mhm.
to discuss the most important topics and tech stories in the United States and around the world. Today's Monday, Martin, as you said, the 4th of May, 2026.
Yes.
There is a lot to talk about. So Anthropic, let's start. Let me just pump out the titles here, the topics, excuse me. Anthropic is finalizing a JV with Blackstone, Goldman Sachs, and some other PE firms on Wall Street. We'll talk about that. Apple, which historically, well, since 1997, holds a ton of cash.
Mhm.
And now that they have a new CEO, they're going to start spending that money differently. I believe Jensen Huang says Nvidia's market share in China is a goose egg, 0. And AI is definitely not killing all software jobs, regardless of what everybody else in the world is telling you. And I wanted to spend a few minutes just talking about Japan's $23 billion data center market is also set to grow. It's not just a phenomenon that's happening in the United States, and a lot of the things are similar. So I just want to go through that.
Let's do it.
Let's
Great
talk. Let's
plan.
talk about Anthropic, Martin.
Yeah, let's do it.
So they're finalizing a $1.5 billion joint venture with a group of Wall Street firms. Blackstone's included, Goldman Sachs is included. And I love for people that don't understand like what Wall Street is.
Mhm.
I don't know. I just love the way they talk about Wall Street. People that don't understand Wall Street, that never worked on Wall Street, to like they're calling Goldman Sachs a PE firm. It just makes me
It's
laugh.
it's what is just like one part of what Goldman Sachs does. That is like
It's
millions of
a
things.
tiny,
Tiny part. Okay.
nothing that Goldman does is tiny, but it's like Blackstone is a private equity group
Okay.
and an investment group. But Goldman Sachs is for sure not a private equity group.
Okay.
It's not all they do for sure. But anyway, so each of these three investors, Anthropic, Blackstone, and Hellman and Freedom, they're going to put in roughly $300 million into this thing. We'll get to what it is in a minute, right?
Okay.
Goldman's going to put in $150 million, and the total capitalization is going to be like $1.5 billion. So there are other people involved. And I didn't know this, right? But let's talk about what this is. So essentially what they do is all these private equity firms, or at least the divisions, the private equity divisions of these firms have companies in which they've invested, right?
Mhm.
And all of them are going to use AI. And the reason for this kind of joint venture is just to not even convince, but to kind of direct their PE investee companies. If you're going to use AI, you're going to use Anthropic. And one of the reasons to invest all this money is, again, it's so, and there's another really interesting point that I want to make in a second, Martin. But one of the reasons to invest all this money is because Anthropic is going to have to embed people into all of these private equity companies, or into their investee companies, so that it's not just like doing sales. It's not just signing them up for like a subscription and walking away. It's signing them up to use Anthropic essentially for as long as they possibly can, and embedding software engineers or consultants into these investee companies so that they can use Anthropic as well as they possibly can and make it super sticky, right? Because they're going to be guys inside the company and gals inside the company that are like Anthropic experts, right?
I think that's the interesting part to me, this part, because it helps obviously on the sales and the adoption of Anthropic products, right? But more importantly to me, it helps on the adoption of AI itself, right? Like
Exactly.
like
Yeah,
a,
exactly.
a lot of companies, they just don't know where to start. They are scared about AI. They don't know
They're
what to
also
do.
busy though. Like their
And
PE
they're
company.
busy.
I mean, you know what I mean? Like they're busy.
No,
They're doing their business as well.
yeah,
So
I mean the investee themselves, right? Like so, yeah. So like they are running
yeah,
their company. They see, there's like a lot of FOMO, but like I should use AI. Everybody's using AI, but I don't know where to start. Now, if you have somebody like from Anthropic who comes and is calm and can help you,
yeah,
this is a huge help, right? Into like
massive.
just starting to adopt AI. And I think that this is the most interesting part to me. Is like, okay, they are not only providing money and then helping people to use Anthropic. Is more like, okay, we are actually going to help you as well deploy the product themselves. And this is really cool. This is really, really cool. That's going to accelerate a lot AI adoption at scale, I think.
Yeah, another interesting thing here, Martin, is that Palantir was the company that really started doing this a bunch of years ago.
Okay.
Again, because the product that they had was hard to understand.
Mm.
They're like, what am I going to do with all this data that you have? Well, how am I going to get insights from it and stuff like that?
I
So they
see.
would embed engineers inside to drive the adoption of their product, which is the same thing that these private equity companies are going to do. And think about this too. These private equity firms control thousands of portfolio companies.
Wow.
And my guess is, although it's not said explicitly, my guess is that they're not just in the United States of America.
Yeah,
And
it's
that's why these
possible.
numbers are so, say it again.
Yeah, it's highly possible that Blackstone not only invest in the US, right? And they don't.
So Goldman definitely makes investments in private
Yeah.
equity in Japan and in the rest of Asia. I
Mhm,
know that for a
mhm,
fact
mhm.
because they were doing that when I was there.
Yeah, for
So
sure.
if you just think about unlocking all of their investee companies and kind of seeding them with Anthropic, it just unlocks like an entire portfolio. It's just pretty incredible, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, they could like really like skyrocket their revenue, right? Like what is the number we said last time? Like 1,000 companies spending at least $1 million per year? Was it like
Something
a
like that.
thousand?
I think it was
Something like that,
800.
right?
Yeah, something like that.
So is there like more than 1,000 companies like into a joint portfolio with Goldman Sachs,
Thousands,
Blackstone? There's thousands and thousands, right?
thousands.
So yeah, I mean that would be like a huge way to accelerate their revenue. And plus, it's so smart once again because they are going to make money on the token sales, right? Which is going to be huge because tokens are so expensive. And but at the same time,
How do
they are
we know
going.
this, Martin?
We know very well. I'm the CFO who pays the bill,
The CFO, the CTO,
the CTO as well, who
and the
implement
token
them.
spending guy.
But yeah, so they are going to make money on the token sale. They are going to help companies to actually implement AI into their
Yeah, yeah.
into their workflows. Plus, like these engineers, like if I were Anthropic, I would send like open-minded guy, who like to see new things and to have new ideas, right? Like people who are not just like people who implement a system, but we are more like people who are able to propose something, suggest new ideas, go beyond, right, and try new things.
Yep.
And so they are going to also like, I think that get tons of new use cases, tons of new problems. They are going to see new like maybe new in industries as well, right? Because like right now we talk a lot about AI in cybersecurity, for example, but what about health? What about pharmaceutical? What about like these other like really large industries, insurance, for example, as well, that are massive and that right now we don't really speak a lot about AI adoption, right? So if these companies are into these portfolios, that's an amazing way to get inside these new i- industries and get massive market share, right? So
Right.
that's a smart move.
It's a super smart move, right? Because it's like you make a deal with one company, and by definition,
Yeah.
you make a deal with all the thousands of companies in which they've already invested, and now
Yep.
you get a global footprint potentially as well,
Mhm.
right? But the other thing to do is it feeds off itself. So I was reading something today, Martin, that said that artificial intelligence in the United States right now is adding about 2.5 to 3% of GDP right now
Oh wow, really? That in the US?
in the United States.
Wow, it's huge.
It's a $30 trillion economy, I think.
Okay.
Just think of 3% of
Yeah.
that. It's just
But
it's massive. It's just super massive. But again, if you now like feed this out into all of your portfolio companies, if it's and it's more than just Blackstone, Goldman, and Hillman and Friedman, whatever it is, right? Because there are some other people involved. But again, if it was 1,000 before, spending $1 million a year gets you to up to the $30 billion run rate for
mhm.
annually. If you just add thousands of more companies
Yep.
and they're all using Anthropic, and frankly, we know that OpenAI is doing the same thing, yeah.
Yes.
So just think about the impact of artificial intelligence on just the U.S. economy. If it's 2.5 to 3% now,
It
think
would be
about what
huge.
the impact of this is going to be on the economy. And this is one of these other reasons why, Martin, not to go back to something that we talked about a few weeks ago, but how it's just not a bubble, right?
Mhm. It's maybe like all overpriced, right? Like this $1 trillion valuation and all of that for companies that are making like really a tiny parts in terms of income. But it's a real, like there's real use cases, right? Like people are really using AI to build stuff into their workflows. They are really like spending this money in tokens. Like this is happening for real at a really large scale today. Really
Yeah,
large
and I
scale.
mean everything that's overpriced today is the right price tomorrow. Like I'm not
Yeah, that's
convinced.
true.
And
That's
here's the
true.
other
Yeah.
thing, Martin.
Good point.
If this is so much like electricity, it's hard to understand because neither you nor I, no jokes here, were around before there was electricity.
Are you sure? You want
Don't be crazy.
to?
Don't be crazy.
Easy
Um,
joke, easy joke.
I set myself up for that. But you understand the point.
Yes.
But every company needed to have electricity.
Yeah.
And it was just blatantly obvious that like this thing had to roll out across the nation, and it had to roll out as fast as possible, and it
Yeah.
had to make massive investments in it. And that's what's happening here as well.
But also, like, just look at our use case, right? Like, we are definitely not at the level of these companies in our company, but look at how AI has changed absolutely everything into our company, right? It's massive. Like, I was thinking about that today. I was like, look at how I was coding stuff when I was doing Dr. Tail like a few years ago,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, 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 yeah.
And every time I wanted to change the color of a button, it would take some time because you had to go into the code, you had to log in, you had to change the CSS and all of that. Now, the same time it took to change the color of a button before, now we can build entire features that are completely game changing for our business, right? And
Exactly.
this is the end. So the productivity that we are getting for now, mainly for coding, right? Like the access to super advanced feature that just before would have required that. I mean, everything that I've built in the last week, like all of our pipeline and all the dashboard, it would have been like it would have required like a big team, so many people who spend so much time into building all of these things. And now we just access it through English, right? And this is
Yeah,
insane when you think about it, right? Like the change in just 2 to 3 years, the access to coding and to the power of software, right, is just like so much easier right now.
much.
And we can build big things, we can change like entire workflows, we can scale completely our business because that's what we've been doing, right? We
Yep.
are not trying to replace people, we are just trying to do 10 times more than we are doing before, thanks to the power of AI. And this is exactly what's happening, right? So if that happens at our scale of a huge global company, right?
Like us, yeah.
Imagine like what happened at the scale of, this real huge global companies, right?
Well, companies have like 50 to 100,000 employees. But also think about this. Sometimes these PE, sometimes the investments that these PE companies make into their investee companies, they're not gigantic companies, but you're right. They're not in the same business. Like they could be a paperclip company.
Yeah,
But this is why it gets really interesting to me, because if you can, in the same way that like electric power changed the way that every business in the United States operated, artificial intelligence is going to do the same thing. But because they're going to be new users of this technology, you're right. They're going to find new use cases for it that people didn't expect or understand.
exactly.
And it's
For
also
sure.
going to make them way more efficient as well, which means that the economy itself should be, unless it's mismanaged at the highest possible level. I'm not suggesting that it is, but if it were, it's going to make the economy way more efficient. And it could do
Every
it
level.
really fast as well. Yeah.
Really, really fast. I mean, I think today AI, like models like Opus 4.7, GPT 5.5, these models today are able to build massive things that like a few years ago would require like an entire team of developers to do, right?
Yeah.
So today already, I think we are at the level where this frontier model can actually do stuff for real, right? And so now I think it's just a matter of like how fast we can implement it. And now it's not a question anymore of is AI able to do something. Now it's just like, okay, now we just need to roll it out to as many people as we can to actually, as you say, improve society as a whole, or improve productivity in society as a whole, right? Because
Yeah.
once again, right now, Opus 4.7 and GPT 5.5 are able to do stuff for real, right? That
Yeah.
are at the same level of what human can do.
And I think one of the other interesting things that's going to happen here, Martin, is as we roll it out to industries and verticals and companies that have yet to have access to it, it's going to change the way the models get developed as well, right?
Yeah.
And you and I have spoken about this before, but you have these very large transformer, large language models that can do everything, that know everything.
Yeah.
It's so insanely unnecessary
Mhm.
to have it be that bloated.
Yeah.
But that's the first thing that we've built.
I don't need ChatGPT to speak Thai, Vietnamese, Chinese, Japanese, French, Spanish, Dutch, all of that
But
at the same time, right?
you also don't need to have it know about like, boat
Gardening,
hull maintenance. Like it
exactly.
just doesn't matter to you, but all that's there. And it
Yeah.
makes it's still very efficient, but it makes it less efficient than it might be if all it had
Yeah.
was let's
just
just
what
say
we need.
information about this vertical, whatever that
Yeah.
vertical was.
Yeah, I think the two challenges right now that we need to solve, I mean, the two possible future for LLM that I see, the first one is much smaller models, just like you described, that
Yep.
sounds like a super obvious. And then the second thing is much better fine tuning to be
Yeah.
able
Yeah.
to put my information inside the model itself, right? So I think this is the two big things that we need at the moment in terms of AI users, to reduce drastically the cost and to make everything much faster, basically, right? So let's see, but I'm pretty sure these two solutions are going to appear on the markets at some point.
So there was also a company, Martin, we talked about. I want to get this right. I think it was called Ineffable.
Okay.
And this is the company that was founded by David Silva, right? He was the former leading researcher at Google DeepMind, and he founded a company that he raised $1 billion at a $5 billion valuation. No product. Yeah. We talked about this last week on the show.
Yep.
But the reason why I'm bringing this up again is because what he's not building a transformer. He's building a model that like learns, right?
Yes.
Remember we talked about this?
I don't know enough about this new way of doing models, right? But I'm really curious to have a look and see like
Same.
what is going to happen, right? With this guy who's doing that, with Jan LeCun, who's also like
Yep.
building something. I'm really wondering like where this is going to go. Like, yeah, I'm very curious.
Yeah. So the reason why I bring it up is because I do think that as you filter these large language models out to, again, industries and verticals in which they have not yet been used or have not had access to yet, you're also going to end up with new types of models like this one, but also other models that haven't been invented yet. And for sure, in some of these companies, there's a technologist that says, oh, if we build this new thing that no one has considered yet,
Yeah.
right? Then that guy or that gal may leave that company, go out and build that thing only because they now have experience with something that they did not have experience with before.
Maybe that's exactly what they want, you know. Maybe that's why they're going for the PE route, right? Because it's really
Why
hard to
not?
get into health. It's really hard to get into insurance. It's really hard to get into these sectors, you know, because right now, like all the companies that we talk about using AI, token matching, spending like crazy. It's what? It's
Yeah.
Facebook, it's Nvidia, it's tech companies, right? It's like it's
Yeah.
AWS, it's CrowdStrike, it's Cloudflare, all the Stripe, like all the example we mentioned in the last 2 months of massive AI adoptions are all tech companies, not a single one over that is not a tech company, right? So maybe it's super hard to break out of the tech bubble, right? And to say, okay, look, we want to go to the insurance business. This is like one of the largest in industry in the world, and we just can't go into that. So we have no data. We don't know what they need. We want to sit down with them, but they say, yes, we're interested, but let's talk about that next year, right? But they should not talk about that next year.
Exactly.
Because it has these very large incumbents, right? Like they move slowly, they are much more like, you know, much more conservative about things. And so maybe that's actually the plan, right? To tap into these new verticals that they really struggle to get into, to accelerate the access, to then learn, adapt what they are doing, create new products, and then deploy AI into completely new verticals, completely new products.
Yeah, exactly. And I love the way they're doing this too, right? By
Yeah.
creating this joint venture, having all their financial interests completely aligned with each other. And instead of selling to one company at a time, they're selling to thousands of companies at the same
Yeah.
time.
Big
It's just
shortcut.
much more likely to be effective that way. Yeah.
Big shortcut. But so, what is the money used for? Like when Blackstone put money into that, like what does that mean exactly?
So again, my feeling on here is that is to hire people so that they can go and then do the consultancy stuff, right? Because they embed people inside the company. Someone has to pay them, right?
Okay. Okay. So we
But
didn't
they're
have
also
put
just
this.
funding. So they're funding a joint venture. That joint venture actually has operations it needs to fund.
Okay.
Think about it. If you have to find engineers to sit inside thousands of companies, what's it going to cost? It's going to cost way more than $1 billion. They funded this thing for $1.5 billion, but the one that OpenAI did.
It's like
Let me just get my numbers right. You were right before, right? You said they had already had 1,000 businesses that did $1 million a year in revenue, but OpenAI built a company called Deploy Company, and that's valued at $10 billion, and they've raised $4 billion from a bunch of people. So they've raised over almost 3 times as much money to do the same type of thing, right?
yeah. But so is it a way as well like for the investors to invest indirectly into
Yeah.
Anthropic and
Yep.
OpenAI?
Yep.
Because now they are going to have an interest into the success of this joint venture, right? And so is there like something like, for example, the investee company from the PE firms are actually going to pay the joint venture instead of paying Anthropic directly?
Yes,
So
yes, yes,
some of
yes.
the money actually go back to Goldman Sachs and Blackstone. That's the flow. Okay,
Yes. So
good.
for what OpenAI did, they've guaranteed a 17.5% annual return to their PE backers, to
Oh
the
wow.
companies like Goldman, not Goldman, but like TPG, Bain Capital, Brookfield, and the people that have
Okay,
built their sort of same company.
okay.
Apparently, this joint venture with Anthropic has no guaranteed annual return, but they're offering equity in the company, and that's probably what people are investing in.
Mhm. Okay, this is a really interesting model because you're like, we are not giving, I mean, for Anthropic, they give shares, but let's talk about the OpenAI. Like they say, look, we are going to create another company as a joint venture there, and this is going to charge people another way, right? And then you are going to make money this way. And then plus we can guarantee you return 17%. It seems pretty low in a way, right? Because like when we see like the bill that the companies are spending into AI, like I mean it's huge, right? Like it's massive. It's
It's
way more
massive,
than
but 17.5% guaranteed annual return. You would do that all day, every day if you had the money for it.
for sure. But to me, I'm like, we should have negotiated more. We should have asked for more.
You think?
Of course, because like I mean, like the bills for AI tokens is just massive. So it feels to me like to get to this 20% annual return, it should be fine for OpenAI. I'm sure they're gonna make way more money than that. It
Oh,
feels to
probably.
me.
If they can sign up all these companies, yeah, they're gonna make way more
Yep.
money.
I think they are going to make way more money. So okay, and so that's interesting actually that Anthropic don't give them a fixed return, but give them equity into Anthropic, right? Like that's
Yep.
actually a pretty interesting move because it means that these PE firms, Blackstone, Goldman Sachs, and the others, are actually interested into getting shares into Anthropic, which means they believe that Anthropic is going to be making them more money than the 17% guaranteed at OpenAI. They believe that's a better deal. So that's interesting.
Yeah, yeah.
That's interesting for the long-term trust that investors have into each company.
Again, it's we talk about this every single time we talk about AI.
Yeah,
It's very incestuous, right? Like everybody's
yeah.
investing in everybody else, and it's this, it's all funny money to me. It seems like. Anyway, um, let's talk about Apple.
Let's change topic.
So Apple holds a ton of cash, and they had a cash policy that was called the net cash neutral policy.
Hmm.
So two things are happening at the same time here. One is John Ternus is taking over as Tim Cook steps down as CEO on September 15th. Tim Cook was the CEO for 15 years. He's going to stay on as the executive chairman. Tim was a logistics guy and also a finance guy.
Mm.
It's just important to point this out because Ternus is a hardware engineer and a product guy. So almost by definition, he's going to run the company differently. Tim Cook made Apple so efficient. There were great products there too, but he wasn't responsible for making all those products and designing all those products. And, he was not in charge of the product part of the company. I mean, he was in charge
Right.
of the whole thing, but you know what I mean? He wasn't like designing the products.
Hmm. Hmm.
But Ternus has been building products and engineering products. So he's going to look at the company in a completely different way. And you have to understand, so Apple, in 1997, when Apple just started turning itself around, they literally had to go to Microsoft for cash. Otherwise, the company would have died in like 3 months. So Steve Jobs was always very, very afraid of like how much cash the company had.
Mm, okay.
And he wanted to make sure that it never ran out of cash again.
Mm,
So this was almost like if you grew up in the Depression in the United States in like the 1930s,
hmm.
right? Like the late 20s and early 30s, even if you were really rich, you still didn't spend a lot of money because you never knew when the next crash was going to come because
Hmm.
it wasn't clear to people back then, at least, that there was going to be a stock market crash and that there was going to be a Great Depression.
I see. I see. I
So
see.
we called this a Great Depression mentality. It didn't mean you were depressed. It just meant you were afraid that if the economy goes into a recession, you're going to have to like live on the street.
Yeah, I see.
And Steve Jobs actually had that mentality at Apple because Apple went through its own Great Depression and they almost ran out of cash. And they were also very poorly managed. Even if they had decent products, the product ordering, the supply chain, all that stuff was terrible. And that's where Tim Cook was just insanely great.
Okay.
But Ternus is going to be different. Apple also had what they called the net cash neutral policy.
Okay.
Okay. And that was because by 2018, I can't remember exactly what year it was, They once had over $163 billion, just like in the bank kind of thing.
This is crazy. Just have like an account with so many zeros, you know?
Yeah. So they had this net cash neutral policy, which they implemented from 2018, literally until just now. They just changed it. And
Okay.
the idea was cash plus investments minus debt, unless it equaled the total debt, effectively bring the net balance to zero. And over the past bunch of years, and after the US government, sorry, allowed them to repatriate a lot of the money that they were holding, I believe, in Ireland. Yeah.
Mhm.
Um, and they got some tax benefit for doing that. They decided to start returning cash to their investors. So if you were a shareholder, they did tons of share buybacks, which is again one of the reasons why the stock price went up so high. And the second was they keep raising their dividend and paying down debt.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
This is new, right? Because like Apple has never been doing this type of thing before. Like
So they
dividends and all
started in
that.
2018. This was
Okay. Okay.
well after Steve Jobs died, and
Okay.
I don't know exactly how much cash they have on hand now. But now they want to have more flexibility, and that gets into tonight's topic, right? So Ternus, John Ternus he's an engineer. He's not a finance guy. His design mentality is all over like the iPhone 15 Pro, the AirPods Pro, and if Cook's error was defined by financial engineering and this net cash zero policy, Ternus, I think, is going to move more towards like we need more products.
Okay.
And to have more products, you have to invest a ton of money. And if you think about it, Apple is the only company of all the big companies we know in tech. Let's just name some of them off the top of our head, right? Google,
Microsoft,
Microsoft, Amazon, Facebook.
Shopify.
Yeah, Shopify not so much because Shopify's not making. The only reason why I want to talk about those first four at least, right? So Amazon, Microsoft, Google. What was the other one?
Facebook.
And Facebook. Yeah, Meta. All of them are investing literally hundreds of billions of dollars in AI.
Yeah. Yep.
Apple is way behind, and we've talked about this a little bit, but Apple's way behind. And so, remember, before we started recording, I said Ternus, I think, has to accomplish two things at least. The first is he has to start building up a product pipeline.
Okay.
And it has to be significant, right? So you have to see these numbers. Apple just posted their best March quarter ever. I read this today, Martin, and I can't get this number out of my head. It's so large.
Tell me.
No, think about it. What is Chubb's revenue every year? We talked
50
about
billion.
50-something billion, yeah?
Yeah.
Whatever. 50-something billion. And I think with Zurich was the same thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's public information. We're not telling anybody anything that's not public. Apple's last quarter was $112 billion of revenue.
Oh, wow. Last quarter.
Last
It's
quarter,
insane.
man. And that's
It's
up
insane.
17% year over year.
But it's crazy, like all of these big, like large tech companies, they are all posting like such a high growth. It's crazy. Like, Meta same, they grew like what, like 20% over year, something like that.
Yep.
It was like where does that come from? Is there like a much larger market all of a sudden? Like did people have more money? Like where does this come from? Like all of this growth?
So
Because
I'll tell you what's happening. At least one thing.
tell me.
There's a group of companies in the United States right now called the Magnificent Seven: Apple, Microsoft, Google. I'm going to say Google if you don't mind. Amazon, Nvidia, Meta, and Tesla. Tesla, not so much anymore.
Mm-hmm.
But what all of them have really started doing is building products for people that are rich.
Okay.
But like which of Apple's products? Okay, maybe the MacBook Neo is for people that are not so rich, right?
Mm-hmm.
But most of Apple's products, poor people don't buy. And if they do, they buy them on like layaway, right? Because they're very expensive.
Mm-hmm.
The iPhone has to be 3 times more expensive than it was when they first introduced it.
Mm-hmm.
I think the first one was like $599 or $600. So now it's like $1,500 or more. Yeah,
it's really
it's just really expensive.
Mm-hmm.
But let's get back to these numbers. We talked about it. Like, let's just say Chubb's a $55 billion a year company, right?
Yeah.
That was iPhone revenue. $57 billion, which was up 22%. And their services set a record of $30.9 billion.
Oh, wow. Their services like Apple Cloud, like iCloud and all of these things?
Yeah, just whatever their services business are. So anything that happens in the store, right?
Okay.
Anything that's not like a hardware product is considered a service. So Apple Cloud, yeah.
Okay.
whatever else they do there. Anyway, they're going to now have to start investing money in artificial intelligence at scale and in new products. Because what is the new product that you're thinking that Apple's going to come out with, except for the glasses?
The glasses that, I mean, Meta is doing it already, right? So it's not like it's a super new, revolutionary, breakthrough type of product, right? It's like
Yeah,
something that seems like a catch up to Meta, and maybe like a pivot from the Vision Pro that didn't really work the way that they wanted, right? At least on the consumer side. Maybe they had other goals for that,
yeah, we talked about it.
but they did sunset it, anyway. But yeah, besides that, there's really no new exciting new feature or new product in the Apple ecosystem. And that has been the case since quite some time now. Like
Yep,
everything works really, really, really well, right? And keeps working really, really well. But what's new since the last 6, 7, 10 years, maybe, right? Like the
nothing.
watch. When was the first Apple Watch?
I don't remember, but they're on version 11 now, so 11 years ago.
Yeah, yeah. So
But
then
again,
they
that
chose.
product was designed by Johnny Ive. So think about how long ago that was. In other
Yeah.
words, that comes out of a pipeline that already existed. They need to have a
Mhm,
much better pipeline. Here's
mhm.
here's the other thing to consider, though. Sorry, it just makes me laugh. Other companies also buy stuff.
Okay.
They buy other companies,
Mhm, mhm.
right? Like think about Instagram was purchased by Facebook.
Yeah,
Google buys companies.
yeah.
Amazon buys companies.
Constantly, always.
Apple remember, Apple had $163 billion of cash, literally just like lying around. Their biggest acquisition, Martin, in the history of Apple, and I knew this off the top of my head, but I just want to double check it, yeah,
Okay.
was Beats, the headphone company.
Oh wow. For what? 500 million?
No, but good guess.
500 what? No.
$3 billion.
$3 billion. Okay. Okay. Okay.
But it was $2.6 billion up front plus $400 million over time. But you don't have to answer. It's not a quiz. But
Mhm.
like, think about what year that was.
Oh. Let's say 2015.
Good enough. 2014. I'm just saying it was
Oh yeah.
so long ago
That's
since they
far.
bought
Yeah.
anything of any significance, and they had
Wow.
tons of money lying around. But again, this net cash zero thing meant that they couldn't do it
Yeah.
because it just
Okay.
didn't fit into their strategy. So strategically, this is what I'm thinking.
Mm.
It's gonna have to fund some AI stuff.
Mhm,
Right. I don't
mhm,
know how much
mhm.
cash they have in the bank right now. I think it's something like $68 billion, if my memory serves me correctly. I don't know why I
Okay.
think that, but I think I read that somewhere.
Okay.
And they need to build a whole bunch of AI infrastructure.
Mhm, mhm.
That's
So
the
what are they
first
going
thing.
to do? What are they going to do? Let's take bets. And
Well,
for anyone who is listening us right now on the chat, let us know what you guys think. What is Apple going to invest in?
well, I'll tell you what I think they're going to invest in.
Tell me.
Here's what's going to happen. Companies like Anthropic and OpenAI are going to run out of money.
Okay.
Apple's not going to run out of money.
Nope.
They can't buy Gemini,
Mhm,
right? They can't buy whatever Microsoft is,
mhm,
but maybe they could buy Anthropic.
mhm, mhm, mhm.
Do you know what I mean? Or
But
maybe they could buy
yes,
Agnes.
yeah, a model.
They can't buy Manus because we've already seen what happens there. They can't buy Kimi. They can't buy any of those other companies. But
No,
they could buy somebody.
buying a model, that would be interesting. That would be interesting if
But I mean, they could partner with like Jan LeCun, or if I can't remember the guy's name, right, or David
yeah,
Silver,
you're
because
looking,
these
yeah,
companies
yeah,
are not fully formed yet, and just go, we need this thing.
yeah.
Because you have to go back to Android, Martin, as well. Oh God, I want to get this guy's name right. Give me a second.
Yeah, but I mean, like, who, who do you think is payable? Does Google pay Apple to get Gemini to power Siri, or is it Apple who pay
No,
Google?
no, no, no.
So it's
No, the
Google who
same way
pay
Google pays Apple $20 billion a year for it to
to be
be
the search
the
engine.
default engine.
Yes, which means that if they buy a model, it needs to believe that they need to believe that this market is going to be replacing Google's payments, so it needs to be bigger than that, right? So
Exactly.
yeah, that's significantly bigger than that.
So in 2003, Andy Rubin founded a company called Android.
Okay.
because he wanted to make a better phone. And the first operating system that he built for the phone looked nothing like it had a hardware keyboard. It was just like a regular
Okay.
thing, but he was tinkering around because he was a technologist.
Okay.
Google bought it in 2005, and when Apple came out with the iPhone in 2007, they were like, "Oh no, we were writing the wrong software." But my point was that actually moved the market. It moved the market. It moved the needle inside the company so much, right? Android is now a monolith. It's just this
Yep.
gigantic thing.
Yep.
And this is Apple's biggest problem, is that because its revenues are $112 billion a quarter, you're right. It's not going to buy something that's going to make like $500 million a year.
No, they can't. They need to buy something like that's huge, right? And so, and plus that they have like so many revenue stream, right? Like they have like, if I didn't know they were making like $30 billion just on the services themselves. It's insane,
Yeah, yeah.
right? So this is absolutely crazy. So, but also like right now, with all the stories of what we've been covering in the last month or so, right? It really looks like the main advantage that Apple has in this AI market is their this
Distribution.
distribution, right?
Yep. Yep.
The number of iPhone and MacBook Pro and Mac Mini that are just out there, but like what? It's like 2 billion devices,
2.5. Yep.
2.5 billion devices out in the wild, right? And this becomes like yeah, a distribution network for over AI products, right? Like we talked about the acquisition, like the satellite company, right? Like where 80% of their revenue was from Apple, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
We talked about Gemini that's going to power Siri, right? Like all of these deals that Apple have been making of like on the distribution side, right? So in a way, they want to acquire a model or something, but then start competing with the people that are giving them money and using them some for distribution. So it got to be worth it. So that's why like somebody like Anthropic, for example, is probably at the right size, right? That's like a big one guy, you know, that could make a big difference, right? But imagine if tomorrow like Apple buys Anthropic and then they start, doing something that they've been talking about for years, but it never really happened, which is like making the model works locally, like on the iPhone themselves directly,
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
on the computers themselves.
Right.
If Apple tomorrow buys a major models builder, models provider, model lab, and then they start working towards that will give them like a really unique position in the market because nobody has the hardware capacity that Apple has, right?
So
So
let me ask you a question,
tell me,
and it's going to come back to this in a second.
tell me.
What are the name of the chips that go into Apple's most powerful laptops right now?
The M chips,
Yeah. What version are we on?
M4 and
No,
M5
M5,
range.
M5,
Okay,
M5.
okay.
But you know what it is, yeah?
Yes, 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 yes.
Do you have any idea what Intel's most powerful chip is for laptops? Any idea?
No idea.
Not
What
even
do
a
I have
clue,
in my
right?
PC? What do I have in my PC?
You don't know.
It's an AMD chip, I think.
But you have no idea. But my point is that, like, because Apple has this integration, this hardware and software integration that you were talking about, maybe what they mean when they say they're going to buy or invest in AI infrastructure is maybe the chips that they're building and not necessarily on the model side. Maybe they will continue to be paid to use other people's models. Maybe they're happy using Gemini, but maybe they need to build services around that,
Yeah.
right? Siri is one of them, but there could be other things that we haven't anticipated yet. Like, so maybe they'll work with companies so that who knows what like kind of AI is going to go into the glasses that they have, or for surgeons. Like, imagine a surgeon wearing a pair of goggles that can see things that the surgeon can't see. I was reading something today, Martin, that said that like AI can see breast cancer like 5 years before doctors
wow.
can, because they can see things in the X-rays and in the MRIs
Okay.
that the human eye can't see.
Oh wow, okay. And
They can see little
that's a
things
big
being
deal.
formed. It's a gigantic. So, but all
Yeah.
that is AI.
Okay.
So we can't think about it just as like them buying a transformer model making company, but we can think of them as building services around the AI that's available to them. But they're still going to need massive servers and massive data centers and other infrastructure to be able to power that stuff up and keep it as powerful as possible.
So then maybe the best move is to start competing with Nvidia and sell AI chips. Why not? Like you, yeah.
No, they're never going to sell AI chips. What they will do is they'll make the most power. That's why I said the M5s. They're already building them into their M-style chips, but they will probably build very specific chips just to do what the Nvidia chips are doing now. They'll never like even now they don't buy chips from anybody else, right? And they don't sell their chips to anybody else either. I don't think
Yeah.
they ever will. I mean, ever's a
Okay.
long time, but I don't think they will.
Yeah. Makes sense. Makes sense. But yeah, it's really interesting. I really wonder like what they are going to do. What they are going to do is going to be, if they make a move, they have the cash and they have the distribution network to make a big move, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So it's going to be really interesting to see where they are going. Yeah, my bet is they need to use their distribution network. I don't know if I would go if I were Apple. I don't know if I would go to a like model lab. I don't know if I would go there. Maybe the chips. Maybe the chips would be an angle. Maybe. That's my bet. I say okay. I bet on the chips.
Yeah, but I don't think they'll ever sell them to anybody else. Nah,
Maybe. You know,
nah, because that's their
like
edge. Because this is the thing that gives their computers the edge over
yeah.
the other laptops. Is those M5 chips or the M series chips are just amazingly power efficient and also amazingly powerful.
What about data centers chip on which they can run the model, like Gemini, for example, for Siri, and then they deal the integration from the hardware
So they'll definitely
to
build their own AI data center chips. I think they're
yeah,
probably already under development. But the point is, they're not going to let anybody else use that data center.
possibly yeah.
Yeah, because that's going to be their big moat around their business.
Yeah, which means that they're not going to sell them to OpenAI, they're not going to sell them to
No way.
Anthropic, they're just going to keep them internally and keep the edge for themselves,
No,
basically.
because here's the thing, right? The chip market already is overloaded with demand and not enough supply. And Apple's the only the only company that uses their own chips, so they can forecast better what their supply needs are going to be, and they can also work together with TSMC or whoever manufactures for them in a way that no other manufacturer can because they know exactly what they're going to order.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
It's true. But then, yeah, then probably like the next big idea would be probably like a model company, right? Like something that would be able to work in a very, very efficient way on on these chips, right? That would make sense, right? And then tomorrow they could, instead of buying a Mac Mini and running Minimax, or all of these open source model that are using Apple Silicon, Apple
Yeah.
could be like, look, we are building our own model right now that is way better than everybody else because it's super optimized for our tech, right? That would
Right.
make a ton of sense, right? And if open source, I mean, more like not really open source, but more like local model becomes the thing, right? Where we don't really need to connect to the internet, smaller model, and all of these things, and that become like something that people want to use and people use in their workflow because it become good enough, which is possible because, like, I mean, DeepSeek V4 and all of these guys, they are just a few months away from Anthropic, right? And once again, the point that we are right now is really, really good. So if in 6 months we have something free with DeepSeek that is just like Opus 4.7, maybe we don't need Opus 5.2, right? Like we can just use DeepSeek V4 and that's enough for a lot of people. So tomorrow, if Apple comes and say, look, we have our Apple Intelligence, our AI, right? And then they say, look,
Yeah.
it's fully included into all the Apple product that you buy. It works super well. You can fine tune it to your own liking, and that's their own model that they don't give to anybody else, just to their clients. That would make ton of sense. That would be
Yeah.
really cool. That would be really, really cool.
Think about this. So Meta paid $14.3 billion to invest up to 49% of Alex Wang's Scale AI.
Yep.
Okay, that was in 2020. That was like just now. Not just now, it's like a year ago, but still, you understand the point. They're already making those types of investments, yeah?
Yeah. Yes.
So, and there's another company that we never talk about anymore because they don't seem to be doing much, but like Thinking Machines Labs, that's not going to cost that much money to buy either, is it?
She doesn't want to sell. She just want to be left alone.
She really is. There's like all this stuff going on over here, Anthropic, OpenAI, people are shooting into hell, like all this crazy stuff's going on. She's over there just like doing research.
Exactly. She doesn't want to do anything else. She just want to do research. That's my guess on Mura Murati. I think she just want to do research. She doesn't want to participate into all of these things.
Don't call me.
Everybody keep telling her, everybody want her involved. She must be insanely brilliant. If one day we have a chance to have her on the podcast,
I'd
it would
love
be
to have her
just
on.
amazing, amazing. I think maybe we fly to the US and we do it in person, whatever the cost, we just do it. It's gonna be super.
Yeah.
Maybe not whatever the cost. We need to talk to the CFO to make sure that budget can be approved. But
I think I heard the CFO say whatever the cost. I'm in.
but yeah, that's something like like thinking machine labs, they are not building their own models yet, right? They are
Not yet.
creating product around fine tuning, which actually could be part of an acquisition, right? Like you buy the model and you buy thinking machine labs, and then you make them both work together. So then users can fine tune their own models on
Well,
their
think about
own local machine. That would be cool.
think about merging Agnes into Thinking Machines Lab,
Yeah.
because
That'd
one of
be
the things that Agnes is working on, right, is highly optimizing
Yes.
their models, right? So they don't need to invest hundreds of billions of dollars in it.
Yeah. Yeah, actually, I think that would be a really smart consumer-facing move, right? Like buying a
Yeah.
model small enough but good enough to work locally. So maybe at first they do it on the cloud, just like everybody else, just to get started. But then if at some point they can make it good enough to run locally, it would be really, really insane, because then they just they would really have a huge advantage on
Right.
their
And again,
product.
if everything else we've said today comes to pass and that the models get smaller and more efficient and more effective, they'll
Exactly.
probably be able to run on some Apple chips that are, again, highly optimized for this.
Mm.
And they're just going to get better and better at it.
And people are already buying Mac Minis or Mac Studios to run Minimax and what DeepSeek and all of this open source model, right? Like people
Yeah.
choose to use Apple product to do that.
Right.
So it looks like a huge missed opportunity for Apple to actually provide the model as well, right? Like why they don't just build it both
sell enough. They
together?
can't make enough Mac Minis, apparently.
Yeah, apparently they can't make enough Mac Minis. They have reduced, Michael, the maximum RAM you can get on a Mac Studio right now. You cannot buy the 512 gigabytes options. Now the highest one is the 256, I think.
Yeah,
Just
because
to make sure
they
that
can't make them fast enough, right?
exactly. Yep. So this type of stuff, like I mean, yeah, like they should integrate a model into everything. That would be a really interesting move, and then not give it access to anyone as well. Yeah.
Exactly.
So do you think they're going to like hire someone? They're going to buy a company? They're going to just start from scratch? Maybe they could, huh?
So John Ternus starts on September 1st. I'm sure he's been in meetings. Like they just didn't decide yesterday that he was going to be the CEO and take over for Tim Cook. I'm sure they've been planning this for 18 months or some such thing, right?
Yeah.
So he's probably been led into meetings for the last year.
Mm.
And Tim has always been very good at the finance side of this stuff. John has never had any experience doing it, and having Tim there as as the chairman of the board is going to be super effective and super useful for him to be able to lean on Tim and just go, what do you think about this kind of acquisition or that kind of acquisition? But I would not be surprised. So again, two things have to happen, right? One is they have to start investing a lot more money in AI at some level, and that may include acquisitions. But the second thing is they also need, the iPhone hasn't changed in 10 years.
Exactly the same. Yeah.
Zero. Even the design is the same. And nobody really cares. But I'm just saying, that product at some point is going to make $50 billion, and that's it. They need another product line that's going to make, and I don't know if the glasses, maybe they earn $20 billion a year at some point. Could do, right? I think the capex that was going to go into the car business was just way too high for them without any assuredness that their expertise would have helped them build a better car than anybody else that was building better cars.
Yeah, they really, that would have been like a new product, right, from Apple. But
Look, that could be a multi-billion-dollar business. We know that because BYD is a multi-billion-dollar, but Tesla is a multi-billion-dollar business, right? So that could have been a needle mover for them. But they, at some level, for some reason, decided maybe just not yet, but definitely not now.
Yes. Okay, let's see how it goes. But that's gonna be interesting. I really want to see what Apple gonna do, because once again, huge distribution, ton of cash, a lot of very talented people, big brand as well, right? Like the Apple brand means something.
It definitely means something,
right? So actually, they have stores, they have this massive distribution. So yeah, no, they are like a massive player. If they start to get into the AI race, it's gonna be something, no?
Yeah. Okay. Let's talk about our next topic.
Nvidia.
We should have Jensen Huang on the show as well.
Yeah, as well. Yep. Yep.
We
It
should.
must be really interesting to talk to him about like, okay, what is he thinking as well? What's his vision for long term, right?
Yeah, I mean, we should have our people call his people.
True. Why our team
We should.
isn't doing this? Should we fire the guy who's in charge of just scheduling? I think she doesn't do
Oh,
it
for
best.
sure. Can we get somebody else to do it, please?
Oh yes, please get somebody else to do it. Let's do that. That's a great idea.
Oh God, it's so funny. Okay, let's talk about this seriously. So I didn't realize how big Nvidia's business in China was
Okay.
before these import-export restrictions were there. Nvidia says that the company now has a 0% market share in China's AI chip market. Zero.
Wow. And it went to zero in like what, 3 months or 4 months, right? It was super
It's
fast.
more like 6 months, but yeah, really fast. And he was making comments. And I want to read this headline because I think it's actually quite funny. This was from Yahoo Finance. It says Jensen Huang says Nvidia went from 95% market share in China to 0%. And in quotes, it says, I can't imagine any policymaker thinking that that's a good idea.
I mean, makes sense, right? It makes sense.
So he said his own verdict on US export policy was it has already backfired. Let's just go through this a little bit. 2 years ago, Nvidia had roughly 95% of China's AI accelerator market. 95%. Okay, happily selling, Chinese companies happily buying, nobody really caring. China represented 20 to 25% of Nvidia's data center revenue.
Oh wow.
And and because the US progressively restricted chip exports to China, first of all, banning the H100, which was their most popular chip, but then they created a special chip just for China called the H20, and then they banned that too. So I can't imagine any policymaking thinking that that's a good idea. It's probably the right thing to say there. Nvidia also took a $4.5 to $5.5 billion inventory charge tied directly to the H20 export ban, which means they made all these chips for specifically to sell them to China because they didn't have the most powerful stuff in them. And then somebody told them they couldn't do that either. They just wrote it off.
Okay.
He said total lost sales for them was about $15 billion or more.
Oh wow.
And the lack of revenue for the US government in taxes was about $3 billion.
Okay.
And his feeling here, again, in quotes, is conceding an entire market the size of China probably does not make a lot of strategic sense. But can we talk about this, Martin? Because there's a reason why this was done.
Okay, tell me.
It was to slow down China's progress, right?
Yes.
In making better models, but also better hardware and better software around the models, right?
Yep.
But to me, it's really short-sighted in the sense that you're essentially saying like we're going to take all your candy away and hope that you don't remember or don't figure out how to make candy.
Exactly. Yeah. So it like made them slower for like 6 to 12 months, but after they'll not catch up.
And didn't we say something like in the United States we're generating about 130,000 new engineers every year, and in China it's about 1 million?
Yeah.
Or 1.2 million. Didn't we say it was 10 times higher?
Yeah, 1.2 million. Yeah.
So the hubris that says that you don't think that they'll be able to catch up, now what you're doing is you're pushing them into a corner and forcing them to do their own development, and they have very technically strong companies. Huawei is one of them. Camericon, like Meta, like all these companies are now being encouraged by the government and subsidized by the Chinese government to make better AI chips. And Huawei is a really great technologically strong company.
Yeah, very strong, very strong, and very capable as well, right? Like
but also it doesn't ban Samsung from selling chips to China.
Yeah.
It just, to me, like, I'm not Jensen Huang, right? And I don't own shares in Nvidia, but it seems just like a really, really short-sighted and kind of uninformed policy to me. And you're essentially now encouraging China to build as fast as they possibly can and invest as much as they possibly can to either catch up or pass you. Passing is probably unlikely in the short to medium term, but they can definitely catch you. Yeah.
Yeah, and plus, like once again, like I've really tended this idea out of my head of like if they are just like a few months behind, it may be okay, like if it's like way cheaper, but we get the quality of Opus 4.7 right now for free, and when they do Opus 4.9 in 6 months, it may be enough, for a lot of people, right? So like I think we get to a point now where maybe the market is not going to need the frontier model all the time, right? And the
Right.
and the model that is 6 months old can be really 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 good, right? If it's much 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 cheaper, and so which means that if China is 6 months away, it's maybe enough to get tons of market share, right? Because then they can be cheap, then they can be efficient, then they can like do all the things that China knows really really well how to do, scale globally, take tons of market share, just make something that works, right? That's it. And then do something that's massive, massive, massive scale, right? Because they are really, really good at that.
Very.
And I mean, look at all the Chinese film that we see every day in Thailand, right? Like it's just insane, right? It doesn't
Yeah.
always need to be the best, right? Um, so that's why it may be like they may be like 2 years late on this policy. If it was 2 years ago, at the time where the model were like starting, and it was really the beginning of everything, maybe it would make sense. But yeah, right now it feels like a completely wrong timing for doing something like this.
So, and just a few more points to make, right? So Huang acknowledges that China is a serious competitor, like regardless of of anything else that's going on in the market.
Sure.
And I want to make a point about energy because I think it's really important. We already talked about their educated talent,
Mhm.
and they also have a large pool of AI researchers. Some of them, I bet you for sure, were educated at Stanford and Berkeley
Oh,
and
for sure.
MIT,
Mhm,
right?
mhm.
But the one thing that's really interesting to me is this idea of cheaper energy.
Okay.
First of all, China has invested way more than anybody else on the planet, maybe combined, in renewable energy,
Mhm.
right? So oil price shocks don't impact them in the same way that it impacts the rest of the world from an energy
Okay.
standpoint, yeah? But
Okay.
the second thing is because of the way the Chinese government is structured, for better or for worse,
Mhm.
if they want to put a data center in your town,
Just do it.
they're putting a data center to your town. Do you know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like there are no protests.
Yeah. Yeah. No.
I'm not saying that's good or bad. I'm just saying it's a fact that if they want to do this, they're going to do it,
Yeah.
and they'll take a loss on it. The other thing is, and the software that runs Nvidia's chips is called CUDA, and I think it stands for Compute Unified Device Architecture.
Okay.
And Nvidia built this thing, and this is an entire software ecosystem that they've built around
Nice.
their chips and their data center stuff, right? And that has not been replicated yet. That's going to take
Yes.
some time as well, but it will be replicated. It just hasn't been done yet,
Mhm, mhm.
and that's a big deal too.
Yeah, no, definitely, definitely, definitely. My feeling is that it kinda had to be done, even like for China, at some point they prefer to use their own tech and build their own things rather than
Yeah.
sending money to the US, right? Like, so that's pretty much my feeling. If I were China, I would prefer, to build my own tech. Maybe it's annoying that once again, if I were China, like all of a sudden I can't buy the chips anymore, so now I have to to be much 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 faster in developing my own stuff. And maybe they were just doing that on the side, right? They were like buying the Nvidia and then at the same time building their own stuff until they can fully replace everything. Now they got to be much, much, much faster. So it's just a little bit annoying for them, but they definitely had a B plan and they definitely like at some point were going to build their own stuff, right? It was not like a like forever type of situation where they would buy Nvidia chips forever. That's very unlikely, I think. So yeah, I mean, this is just going to be a massive new player in the air race, but like massive, massive, massive player,
So I
right?
also think that China's playing the long game. They always do, and I
They
feel like
always
the
do.
US right now is playing the wrong game, but that's just me. Okay. I want to spend a little bit of time talking about is artificial intelligence killing all software jobs?
Yeah.
So it turns out that it's not.
Hmm.
That it's not. That guys like Aaron Levie, who are constantly banging on the fact that there's no better time to be a software engineer, and plenty of other people as well. Engineering jobs have hit their highest level since November 2023.
Yeah.
And remember, like, so let's just go through this. TrueUp, which is a hiring analytics firm, counts over 67,000 open software engineering roles globally, more than doubled the mid 2023 low. Listings
Okay.
are up 30% since the start of 2026 alone. Okay. And a separate analysis describes postings as rapidly rising. It makes sense. Like, it has to make sense, right?
For
Because
sure.
again, let's just go back to our first topic today with Anthropic working with some of these private equity firms. Where are these engineers going to come from? They're going to sit inside some of these PE companies.
Yep. Yeah.
They got to come from
Good point.
somewhere. Someone's going to
Good
hire
point.
them. So all these noise around like 52,000 jobs have been lost in quarter one of 2026, the worst quarter for cuts since 2023. That's the headline that people like to publish because that's the one that's scary and you have all this heavy music around it. But very few people out there saying, yeah, but job openings for real jobs in the AI space that's driving this stuff, whether it's infrastructure or product development or just software upgrades, are driving hiring more and more people.
And then what, 60,000 you said open job? So which means that there's more open jobs than there are like job cuts, right? So
67,000 open jobs and
I
52,000 tech layoffs in quarter one 2026. So how come we're not talking about net added jobs? It's just,
exactly. I hate that. I hate that when the large media, they just tell half the story, right? And then they don't tell the other part, just for just for the fear, just for the narration, just for the clips and all of that. They completely forget this part of the story, which is actually super important, right? So
yeah.
I hate that. That really makes me always super mad.
Right, because the point here is that companies that are shedding or that are getting rid of some jobs are aggressively hiring in the AI space. And sure, maybe the guy who's sitting in that seat today doesn't know how to program for AI, or maybe he's not like CUDA fluent.
Hmm, hmm.
But if you know how to program in one language, you can learn another language really quickly. And frankly, if you know how to use Claude Code or Codex, these tools
Exactly.
make it way easier to code anyway. It doesn't
For sure.
eliminate the necessity to understand like computer science and to do stuff like that, but still I just wish the headlines would be more balanced
Mhm.
and not to talk our own position so much. But this is why people trust independent media more than they trust incumbent media.
Yep. No,
We're
for
just
sure.
trying to give facts and stories and give opinions,
Hmm.
right? We don't have corporate overlords telling us like we have to create fear and loathing so that people can click. It's just
Yeah.
not the way I think people really should behave.
No, for sure, for sure, for sure, for sure. I think we like even like us for our own interest, right? We like to just know what's going on for real, right? Like I'm not into the clickbait type
No,
of stuff,
don't
and I
care.
know you are not as well. But also like right now, like if it's like 60,000 something jobs opening, I'm sure this is going to explode very soon, like
Oh my
really,
god,
really
it
soon,
has to, because who's going to do
because
all this work that OpenAI is
exactly.
doing and that
But
sorry, that
also,
Anthropic is doing?
Michael, I've never seen a backlog going to zero. This is just
Exactly.
this is this
Exactly,
is the
exactly.
summary of everything, right? Like it's so true. Like it never
Yeah.
happens that
You
there
should
is
keep saying
nothing to
that.
do into a company. It
Yeah.
just never happens, right? Like and once again we are into a capitalist world. Like not all the accountants in the world are going to say, okay, guys, we do right now, we don't do more, right? Like we just
Right.
all agree on not increasing the productivity, on not being like increasing our profit. We all agree on not doing smaller prices. We all keep doing the exact same thing, and we all go on holidays more. This is just not going to happen, right? This is just like definitely completely wrong. So which means like into a capitalist world where we can do like a 10x boost in productivity, everybody need to catch up. That's it, right? Like
Yeah.
otherwise you are going to be left out. You are going to lose market share to your competitors. And so when people get more busy, everybody will get more busy. The more understanding there is in all of this new AI tool, right? Because once again, agent AI is just like a 6 months old thing, right?
Yeah.
Luckily for us, we have the time and the expertise to actually implement it. But I think we are in the top, very, very, very little part of the population at the moment.
At the
And there's
moment,
still a
yeah.
huge part of the population that starting to implement it, starting to learn it, and it will take some time for people to actually be able to do stuff for real with agentic AI. And once this is going to hit, a certain like a certain mass into the population, then we will be able to hire all of these new jobs like AI agents, pilot, head of AI, like all of this new
Yeah.
stuff
Yeah, look,
that are
if
going
you
to
just do
emerge.
like a back of the envelope calculation, and even if
Yeah.
you don't even have an envelope or a back of a napkin calculation here, if some percentage of all of these PE investee companies that both OpenAI and Anthropic are targeting to use their products and services, if each one of them hires just like one or two people, that could be like 100,000 jobs.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So what are we doing?
Exactly. It can be really fast. It can be really fast. And plus, if there's somebody at Anthropic or at OpenAI who is actually there to train all of those people, now you do hiring, you do training as well.
Training, exactly.
So it would be like a very good opportunity for a lot of people to actually like change job, change career, because once again, AI is so new that everybody starts at the same ground zero level, right? Like, of course, like if you want to work on building the model that's going to require some expertise and some knowledge, but right now implementing AI into companies, everybody is a billionaire at the moment, right? Like there is no there is no expert who have a 10 years experience because the tech is 6 months old, right? So
Exactly. Exactly.
so that's why like it's a huge opportunity for everybody right now to learn agentic AI, to learn how to build these systems, and then to get a job at one of the big companies for sure.
Okay. So I just wanted to point that out. There's not much left to say there, but I wanted to point that out because I do think it's important. Let's do our final topic today. Japan's $23 billion data center market is set to grow again by 50% by 2030. And the reason why I want to talk about this for a little bit, and then we can go, is that I just want to point, first of all, Japan's data center market is the second largest data center market in the developed world. So after the United States.
Okay.
And the second thing is it's growing just as rapidly, if not maybe a little bit less rapidly than in the United States for all the same reasons.
Okay.
Right. But I just want to point that out. And the other thing is most of Japan's data centers, Japan's not China, but there's not a lot of protesting going on in Japan either. Most of them are in like urban centers, highly concentrated in urban centers. Yeah.
Okay.
In densely populated areas. But they're now starting to have people start to say like, I don't want this in my neighborhood. And they're going to have to go out. Yeah, they're going to have to go out into the countryside and do this.
But Japan doesn't have the land to be able to do like the US and put something far away from from everybody.
So Japan is approximately the same size as New Zealand landmass wise. But only 30% of the land in Japan is livable because of the mountains.
Yeah.
And New Zealand, I think, has, let's not think, let's just double check before we talk. New Zealand population. I used to know this off the top of my head.
I would say 2 million.
No, it's about 5.3 million people.
Okay.
And Japan has 100 million people.
Yeah.
So just think about how densely populated Japan is. And even though the land masses are the same, 70% of the land in Japan is unlivable. So think about how amazing it must be to live in New Zealand if you ever see another person.
Exactly. Exactly. I think I did the comparison with France as well. It was insane.
Yeah.
Like it was like twice the population on a third of a country, something like that.
Yeah, and I want to make another point too, because I spent a lot of time talking about this on the other show on ATP Insights. American hyperscalers have poured $26 billion into the Japanese AI infrastructure. That's AWS 15 billion, Oracle 8 billion, Microsoft just announced something 2.9 billion. Google also announced an investment in, I think it was Microsoft. No, it was more. It's like $10 billion.
Okay, wow.
Yeah. And, the biggest problem here is that 90% of Japan's data centers are in Tokyo or Osaka.
Okay.
And it's hard to spread these things out because the latency on fiber, right? They have to stay connected to each other. So they have to stay close to the existing ones to make them be really efficient. And again, getting power, we talked about this in the United States, takes 2 years. Inside of Tokyo, getting connected to the grid takes somewhere between 5 and 10 years, which is way longer than it would take to even build a data center.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
So what's going to happen? We're gonna have to change a lot of things to be much more efficient, to be able to build more data centers?
Way more.
Way more.
Way more, because again, putting their data centers in these dense residential zones is now they're starting to have a little bit of community backlash.
Yeah, for sure. Once again, they don't have as much free space as the US has.
No.
So they like to do these fake islands, right, in Japan? Maybe they can do that type of stuff.
So the entire Kansai airport is on what they call reclaimed land.
Reclaimed land, yeah.
So is Disneyland in Tokyo.
Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe the size of Japan is going to expand. They can just reclaim more.
It's already bigger. It's like the harbor in Hong Kong. Anyway, so the goal is so Japan just did this. The government did this thing called the Digital Infrastructure Development Plan for 2030. They want to build 5 or more regional data center hubs to spread capacity beyond Tokyo and Osaka. Could you imagine like data centers going up in Tokyo and Osaka? Like imagine a data center being built in Bangkok, like right over there. That you would not want that either.
That's going to
Anyway,
happen. That's going to happen. Is it like Microsoft or something like this that say they're going to build something in Bangkok?
yeah.
In Thailand? Like
But
not
Thailand
in
has a lot
Bangkok.
more open land, I think, than
Yes.
it's not nearly as densely populated as Japan is.
Nope. No. Yeah, I mean, yeah, Japan, they are very, very highly, like, very dense population for sure.
Yeah, very.
Lots of
So
density.
the most densely populated place in the world, I believe, is Bangladesh, but Japan is pretty high as well. Again, the reason why I want to talk about it was that this data center thing, this energy thing, it's happening all around the developed world, and Japan is the second largest place for these types of data centers, and the same things are happening there too. They want to know about the electricity consumption, the emissions that are coming out of these data centers, the noise that are coming out of the data centers, and like what's the government going to do to make this better or for worse?
Yeah. Are they like involved into space in Japan? Are they building like space company? Are they building space data centers?
Not as far as I know, but I mean, no
Yeah.
one's built a data space center yet.
Yeah, not yet.
Nobody.
SoftBank
Everyone's
isn't
talking
doing that.
about it. Did you
Yeah.
see? Did you see that StarCloud just raised more money?
Yeah. Or did they announce or are they raising?
Sorry. No, you're right. Actually,
Yeah.
this is the thing. This is the reason why I don't trust the media, because they said they're raising. The headline was they raised
Yeah.
another some ton of money, and actually they're just starting to ask people to raise money. So yeah,
Yes.
you are correct.
I think they are raising, but still, like it means that it's making progress, and they may announce it at some point, right? So yeah, it's huge. It's huge. It just did. I don't think I don't remember if we saw like SoftBank investing into one of these
So SoftBank,
space
yeah,
companies.
SoftBank said they're going to build. They're going to build. Robots that build data centers. That was the big story, right?
Oh yes, right. That was like a few days ago.
Yeah.
It was a few days ago. But what about space? Because it looks like they could be willing to do space, right? If they don't have much space on their country, if it's hard to build data centers, they may be like, you know what, let's just try to put them in space. Like they have an incentive, not like the US where there is over solution. Japan could be like, you know what, let's just do it in space.
I'm not 100% convinced that this data center in space thing is going to be a thing.
That's why we need to have someone on the show. Like really, I see the world is so bifurcated. There's the people who believe in it, there's the people who don't, right? And everybody has a strong opinion on that.
I asked Phil to come on the show, but he hasn't gotten back to me yet.
Yes. We should have organized a debate actually between someone who believe in it and someone who don't.
Yeah, I don't need to have a debate. I just want to understand,
Yeah.
Like, how are you going to maintain them? Who's going to drive over? Do you know what I mean? Like, data centers have. I told you when I was running the data center in
No,
Morgan
true.
Stanley,
That's a good point. Yeah.
I would take a taxi in at like 11:30 at night because the trains weren't running, because I had to like unplug something or plug something in or change something. Like, who's going to do that in space? It's like
Actually,
it takes way more organization to do maintenance up there than it would on the ground.
I have an idea. Like we had the CTO of Akamai Cloud on the show. Maybe he could have a view on that exact point that you just made, right? Because he may know that he's building these data centers for Akamai, right? Well, one of the largest CDN and cloud provider in the world.
Always happy to have somebody from Akamai on the show.
And so you may ask him just like, look, you know all the problem that you have and all the people that you need to run these data centers, right? How we are going to do that in space? Like, what's the plan, right? Because if somebody breaks, what do we do? Like, sorry, if something breaks, or if we need to put more water into something, or I don't know, if we need to restart the AC, like, because I'm sure there's millions of little problems in this.
Right. I want to know the answer to this, because just think about it, right? It's like,
yeah, no, it's true. It's true.
oh shucks, Bob's on vacation. Can we get Teddy to go down to the data center and fix that? Oh, Teddy's wife is having a baby. But what if it's like, oh, Bob was supposed to go up on the space station to fix a screw fell out of one of the servers.
So true. How do you do that?
Oh, but Bob's on vacation too, and Teddy's wife is having a baby. No one can go to space now.
It's so true. And I mean, I think people underestimate greatly like the maintenance that needs to happen, right? Like just for your website to run 24/7, right? Like there are people who are actually fixing computers all day long, because actually the computer that hosts your website are breaking, they are crashing, like they don't work all the time, right?
No.
So that's why in these data centers we do something called redundancy, right? Like we have two computers basically that run your website, and so when one breaks, then the other
Right.
can continue, and then you need someone to come and to fix the one who broke, right? Like that's the way it's done. So there's a lot of manual work to power the cloud and to make sure that things work. So how do you do that
Right.
in
So what are you going
space?
to do?
You're
Like have one
right.
person just permanently live in space? That's like
Exactly.
it's not going to happen. Some dude
This
with like
is
a tool set on his belt. Do you know what I mean?
exactly, which has no choice, just stay there because you get to fix, when the computers go off. Yeah.
Like,
But
hey,
this,
whatever happened to that guy Steve from high school?
yeah,
He's in
he's
space.
3 years. He's been there for
He's
three
doing
years.
data center maintenance in space. He's on a 3-year plan.
And I mean, that's a real question. Like, how are we gonna do data center? So maybe we need to ask the CTO at HMI, like, how many people do you need to run a data centers? I think we would be shocked by the number. I'm sure it's a huge number because
Yeah.
these data centers need so much maintenance, there's so much stuff that can go wrong into a computer. I mean, that
Yeah, so
are going wrong
this
all
is
the
just going to be
time.
another place where software engineers are going to have to get hired too, right? Because you're just not going to have a bunch of wise guys there just manning the data center, I think.
Yeah, it feels very unlikely that Bobby would go to space like every 3 days to to turn on the computer that crash, right? It feels very
Shucks, I
unlikely.
have my
So,
wallet up there.
but like, how do you do that? But also, like, you cannot like have so many satellites, that all stay within, so you have enough redundancy. And so then, if one breaks, you can take it down, fix it, and then put it up. It feels like it's gonna be so expensive to do it.
Yeah, but again, there aren't enough rockets. Like this is the whole problem is there still aren't enough rockets to do that. No one's
Yeah, it's
built
true.
enough rockets, not even SpaceX to be and Blue Origin have not built enough rockets to do this on a regular basis. And
So it's
that's
true. Like,
expensive.
even if it works, you're right. Like, even if it works, let's just assume that the center in space works, so they get the power, like the latency is fine, like it works. Okay, let's just say it works.
Mm.
All the maintenance and the operational questions, this is just insane,
You
right?
know what
Like,
else? Yeah, it's just insane. So here's the other thing we need in space. You know what we don't have enough of in space right now?
tell me.
Zoos. No animal zoos in space. Imagine if we did.
I
People
mean,
could then, instead of going to the zoo on the ground, they could go to the one in space. It'd be way cooler.
Michael, if you have like data centers in space, we don't have maybe cities in space as well, because Bob and Steve and Paul
Need a
and
place to
Jack,
live.
like if they are going to need some place to live, just they are going to stay there for a long time, right?
I
So
want the McDonald's franchise in space.
so then they are going to build hotels and then
Starbucks.
McDonald's and Starbucks and maybe
Who wants
zoos as
this?
well.
Nobody wants this in space. Nobody.
I mean, we are kidding here, but like the real operational question about data centers, I think
Yeah,
is a real
it's real.
question. Like, how do you fix the data centers in space I mean, for a fraction of the cost? Like all of these questions are
And I
are
and I
real.
know you can put robotics up there, right? That can you don't need humans up there all the time. But at some point, you need a part. You're not going to have like a supply chain
But
in
also,
space all the time.
if we could have robots, like today, I don't think any of the data centers on Earth is fully automated and doesn't
No,
need any human, right? So that would be the
no.
first step, like make one on Earth that is fully automated, right? And then and like do a proof of concept on Earth first before making the case so much harder, right? So that's why it feels really hard on the operational side, but doesn't mean it's impossible. So that's why I would love to talk to somebody who say it's
Yeah.
possible, who believe it's possible, and ask them all of these questions.
I mean, look, they have more information than we have, right?
Me too.
So I'm
They do.
presuming that this is going to be hard, but maybe they've solved some of these problems already. Look, if people are giving them hundreds of millions of dollars to invest in these companies, they must have an answer to some of these questions, right?
Yep. Or, I mean, we've seen in the past that people invest into crazy ideas, right? Like
Yeah, that's true too.
they may be just seeing the potential, right? And like, yeah, we are going to fix all the problems as it goes, right? Like maybe they don't have the solution, right? Like
But we'll
if
get to that.
we will get to that when when the time's right,
We'll
basically.
figure out maintenance when maintenance is necessary. Don't ask me dumb questions, okay?
Imagine if that's the answer.
What's wrong with you guys? Don't you want to fund the future or not?
Exactly. I mean, we've seen plenty of example of investors like funding the future, and at the end of the day, there's nothing, right?
I'm doing Zeus in space, man. Okay.
So yeah,
Okay, let's finish up for today, Martin. How does that sound?
we can stop here. Yep. But let's get
That
somebody who build data centers in space.
let's get somebody from the data centers, space data centers on the show, and we can talk about it because I really want to know the answer.
Yep.
Okay, everybody, that's it today for AGTP Daily. Thank you so much for joining us again. Give us a thumbs up on today's video. It really helps us out. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Follow us on all of our socials on X, on Instagram, and on LinkedIn. Leave us comments. We love the comments. Ask us questions. We'd love to have more AMA. We will be back again tomorrow at 11 a.m. Eastern Time. That is Martin Runford. My name is Michael Waits, and goodbye.
Thank you, everyone. Bye bye.